Luxuries once tasted become necessities. I heard this expression many years ago working in the emergency room. Dr. Tim Troyer uttered it, and I have found it to be very true. Once you get some luxuries in your life, once you taste some luxuries, they become necessities. It doesn't just work for nice things. It also works for not so nice things. Recently, someone made a video about how to become a millionaire in 10 years by extreme frugality, being super frugal. To his credit, he also has a very high income. But this is one of the little tricky things that no one tells you in the extreme frugality mindset mode or the minimalist mode. So it becomes a necessity. I have a friend who is probably worth 8 to 10 million, I estimate. And he is the epitome of the frugal millionaire. He drives an old BMW. He doesn't take vacations. He clips coupons. He does all of that stuff. He is single. He is miserable. I have another friend who has a net worth of about 25 million, who spends money like a crackhead. He got a new Bentley. He said, hey, come check it out. He has a family. He has kids. They have all the latest stuff. They have the iPhones. The wife has whatever shoes, whatever she wants. He is way happier. Why is the guy who's worth 8 to 10 million dollars, no debt, lots of cash, miserable? And why is the guy who's spending money like a crackhead is extremely happy? I'm gonna explain that and a lot more as we get into this wonderful bean footage. I listen to both of them, and I tend to listen to my friend who has the $25 million network more than I listen to my friend who has the 8 to 10 million. He really won't tell me. He's just like, it's kind of here and there. Whereas this guy tells me down to the penny. Now, here's the difference between these two millionaires. And I got this from my $25 million friend. He dedicates 10% of his income to whatever he wants. The other 90% he treats religiously. This is a model that I adopted many years ago. I have a BMW, I have an Audi, I live in a very nice house. I have extremely nice furniture, this studio. This camera was like, this whole camera rig, including the tripod, about $5 grand. Lights and stuff, I get the best of the best. I don't spend all of my money. I live very well within my means. But when you go to extreme frugality, you become extremely cheap as a person. Cheap, it gets beyond money. I talked about this the other day. This guy who claims to have $3.5 million and he's spending 60 bucks on the hotel room. Call me crazy, but any hotel room that I spend 60 bucks on is usually in the hood around here in Atlanta. That's not a good hotel room. And my friend with the 25 million, he makes about 3 to 4 million a year, depending upon the year. And what he does, because he had a version of the 5 checking accounts, I introduced him to the 5 checking accounts. He's like, I like that. But he always had an account that he put toys. He would put X amount of money in this account. He, his wife, and 2 kids took this vacation, 15-day vacation. It was included a Viking cruise or something. I think it was like $25K for this vacation. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago. They still talk about this vacation. They got pictures in the house. They still talk about this vacation. My friend, 8 to 10 million, he goes to excursions and stuff. He always goes discount, but he ain't happy. And my friend with the 8 to 10 million, he can't keep a relationship. My friend who's worth 25 million, his wife loves him passionately. She would kill for this dude. And it isn't because he gives her whatever she wants, she gets. They started off much poorer than my friend with the 8 to 10 million. They started off a lot like I did. That's probably why we get along. As someone who used to be super frugal, and it was situationally based from the storage auction days, I was literally buying units, getting a new wardrobe for $10. Go to the mall and spend 80 bucks, 100 bucks on one shirt. Are you crazy, man? I can get this from these units. It took me literally 4 to 5 years to transition back to being a normal person. What led to that transition? I made a lot of money. I did a YouTube thing. How I make my money is radically different than how I made my money in the storage auction business. And I was able to come back. But many of these folks who are preaching extreme frugality are never coming back. They just can't. They literally will break out in hives if they spend X amount of dollars for this thing, because in their mind, they've assigned a certain value to whatever it is. Because of this person, he was like, make the million, do it for 10 years. No. It won't be for 10 years. It'll be for life. It will impact every decision that they make. This person can meet a wonderful girl, and because he is so cheap, and this isn't about being careful with your money and not being used. No, he is cheap. Cheap. I have been talking about the abundant mindset since I started this channel. You cannot have an abundant mindset and a cheap mindset harboring in the same body. You're going to have an abundant mindset or you're going to have a cheap mindset. There is no middle ground. And many of these people who do the extreme frugality have a cheap mindset that is never going to change. They're always going to have money. They're always going to be able to get whatever they want, but because they're so cheap, they're not going to want for much. They're just not. And I heard this expression, it's just nice having the money to go out and get it, but not buy it. How many of you are familiar with Emily Dickerson? She's a poet. I remember, because her whole framework of work was living in anticipation and not actually doing the thing, just always the anticipation. Like, I could get a Ferrari, but I'm not, because that's just impractical. One of the things that I've carved in is an impractical side. If I want it, I'm going to get it, but I'm not going to hurt myself to get it. I'm not going to get it on credit. That's a big difference. These people that many folks want to be like, they're good with money. They're great with money, but I guarantee you, unless they find an equally cheap partner, they're going to have some problems. And it isn't because this one problem the partner wants to spend all his money. It's just, it gets to a point where it's ridiculous. It just is asinine. You got a net worth of 3.5 million. You got a net worth of 10 million, but you can't pay no more than 60 bucks for a hotel room. Live a little. Now, part of the reason I have this is I almost died. I was in the hospital. I had that experience. And anyone in the comments section, if you had that experience, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You become very crystal clear to what's important to you. That was probably something that helped bring me out of the extreme frugality. I still have a little bit of it, but not like it used to be. It was ridiculous. It was crazy. I look back, fortunately, and I say fortunately, I had a thing for nice cars. So I've always had a BMW or an Audi or something like that. And my next purchase, which will be a Porsche 911, I may lease it for the business and then buy it later. But it'll be planned for. Because what is the point in working this hard to not have anything? Now, I'm also going to delve a little deeper. Usually, people who are that cheap are overcompensating for something. When you ever buy a girl a gift and she like freaks out because she doesn't feel that she's worthy of that? No, take that back. No, not little old me. No, I don't need that. That is a self-value proposition. There are many people, and this is one of the biggest reasons that many people will never have great wealth, is they don't feel that they deserve great wealth. And those who manage to acquire great wealth feel weird about spending the money for some reason. So they'll let it stack up and they won't spend it because there's a pathology there that is dysfunctional. If you got a net worth of 10 million and you take one or two $10,000 vacations per year for 20 years, that's not going to do anything to your net worth. You may actually increase your net worth by taking these vacations because it's going to broaden your experience set. The more experiences you have, the more you're able to connect certain kind of dots. This is what happened to my friend with the 25 million. He went to Italy, found some stuff, and this was before, he's been a millionaire a long time, but his latest company came from a trip he went to in Italy, where he was spending money. He was like, enjoy yourselves. We're going to eat like we want to eat. We're going to drink. And then he met someone. They were making a product. They formed a partnership. And he makes more money because he wasn't cheap. There is some truth to people, wealthy people being very cheap. But it's a romanticized notion because all wealthy people are not like that. And the wealthiest people spend money. The wealthiest people spend money somewhere because they understand that this is a part of the abundance mindset. I'm not saying go out and spend your whole check. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is dedicate X amount of dollars of your money to blow. This will keep you from doing binge spending. It's like, look, if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to do this for myself. If I hit these, play these little games with yourself and get yourself something nice. Have the ability, because let's talk about my Audi. My Audi is 14 years old. I've put a lot of money into it. Drill brakes. I've changed the exhaust. I've tuned it, a few modifications. But that car, when I'm in that car and I put the key in there and I turn it and that rumble, I love that rumble. I love the thrill of hitting the curves because I lowered the suspension. I just love that. And it's a 14-year-old car. I had to do a special insurance package on it because I've ever wrecked it so I can get what it's really worth. To some people, that would be insane. It's just a car. It's impractical. But it makes me happy. I have a BMW X5M. Similar thing. I hadn't put the exhaust on it. I'm debating that, but I'm probably going to end up doing it because I'm thinking about it. But that X5 is faster than my Audi, and my Audi is very fast. When I go around the curve, and what it does is when I press the gas, it goes lower. That thrill of power, that thrill of vroom, 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 I love that. There is something in your life that's going to give you that kind of thrill. And I say, get it. I say, forget what everyone else says. Because when I put up my video, The Rich People of Atlanta, there was a lot of people like, these people are broke. These people are living. Let me just hip you to something. I checked the foreclosure rate for this area. It's non-existent. I think literally in the last 10 years, 10 or 11 homes around here have been foreclosed on. 10 or 11. 10 or 11 out of all these multi-million dollars. 10 or 11. People with money do not behave like you do. And I'm going to do a special video about that. Rich people habits. Look out for it. I just wanted to do this video because there's a lot of you who are looking for information, who are saying, how do I become wealthy? And a lot of the stuff that the dude talked about, I've talked about on this channel. Remember the two school teachers who never made more than 40K a year, and they bought all these real estate rentals and paid cash for them? There are ways to leverage your income. But these same couple, they pay for their kids to go to school. They spend money like crazy on their grandkids. They bought their daughter. Once again, these people were not cheap. They were smart. They were economical. They were wise, but they were not cheap. And when you have a cheap mindset, you're going to have a cheap soul. And I guarantee you, because I see some guys, and I always notice they're alone. They're all alone. It's telling. And also, I saw another video where a guy said the rich people usually have just one business. That's not true. Warren Buffett, second richest man in the world, or third or something, has several businesses. Geico's one of them. Yes, Berkshire Hathaway owns Geico. Bill Gates, AWS, Amazon, Blue something. I think he has several businesses. The Koch brothers, several businesses. So no, that ain't true. That ain't true. Once you get to a certain level where you have more money than you'll ever need, you start to diversify and you start to take chances and you do certain things. It's just simply not true. And I'm here to be a voice of reason, because you can become wealthy. It's just not going to happen as fast as you want. And in some of these stories, there's usually the rest of the story. There's usually some little glitch or hiccup or something for these people's success. Because many of them like to say that they came from nothing. I came from nothing. The product of a weird single parent household. I grew up in a house with no running water. Now I live in a house with 5 bathrooms. I came from nothing. And I can tell that many of these folks did not come from nothing. Grant Cardone, love him to death. He's like, I came from nothing. His father had a life insurance policy that enabled his mother to raise these children and send him to college. That ain't coming from nothing. So there are some people who have a misguided notion of what nothing is. Nothing is waking up, shivering because the gas went out and you got to go to your Aunt Evelyn's house to get some heat. That's coming from nothing. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but remember, luxuries once tasted go both ways. It's just not for the good stuff. It can be for the bad stuff, and the bad stuff can become a habit. If you like this content, go below, get on my email list, the 5 checking account blueprint. I will be dropping that very soon, and I'll be dropping notifications to this channel. Be sure to answer the confirmation email. That will keep you on the list so you will have high deliverability. So with that, I'll see you guys later.